Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 7. We are going to discuss about national language and language planning. Our group members are me, Sofwa Zara, and Idan Fahri Wildan. National and official language. National language is the language of a political, cultural, and social unit. It is generally developed and used as a symbol of normal national unity. Its functions are to identify the nation and unite its people. An official language, by contrast, is simply a language which may be used for government business. Its function is primarily utilitarian rather than symbolic. It is possible, of course, for one language to serve both functions. Another explained that the function of official language is usually dealing with certain business in a certain territory, such as the nation's courts, parliament, and administration, and it is not widely spoken in the society. However, it is possible that one language serves both functions. Another explanation from Ward: a national language is commonly chosen to represent the nation, whilst an official language is one that is designed by the state for use in government documents, Act of Parliament, courts, proceedings, and so on, where the national and official languages are specified in legal instruments such as constitution. They have the jure status, but where their use established through use or function, but not legally specified. They are de facto national and or official. The next is planning for a national official language. Holmes in 1999 state that there are generally four related steps to planning for a national language. The first is selection, that is choosing the variety or code to be developed. The second is codification, that is standardizing its structural or linguistic features. This is kind of linguistic processing is known as corpus planning. The third is elaboration, that is extending its function for use in new domains. This involves developing the necessary linguistic sources for handling new concepts and contexts. The fourth is securing its acceptance, that is the status of the new variety important, and so people's attitude to the variety being developed must be considered. Step may be needed to change its prestige, for instance, and the encourage people to develop pride in the language or loyalty towards it. This is known as status planning or prestige planning. Next is this is the figure, the table summarized steps in language planning. Selecting the code to be developed is often an entirely political decision. True linguists may point out the different linguistic problems presented by selecting one variety rather than another. Acceptance by the people will generally require endorsement by politicians and social prestigious groups. So, selection and acceptance are steps which involve social and political factors. Codification and elaborating our code to handle a wider range of functions are, by contrast, essentially linguistic process. Producing a dictionary and ensuring there are words available for teaching science in the variety. So, for instance, the problems for linguistics. In practice, however, all the steps are closely interrelated, as the examples below will demonstrate. Okay, the examples will be delivered by Idan.
Developing a standard variety in Norway. Selecting code. Essentially, the Norwegian government had the choice of developing a national language from standard Danish or from local Norwegian dialect. While Danish offered all the advantages of being codified in dictionaries and grammar, it was the language of each domain and to the oversource from whom Norway gained independence. Two different approaches were taken to developing a standard written variety of Norwegian. One approach selected a variety based on Danish, with some orthographic and morphological modification based on education urban Norwegian speech. Okay, the next is codification and elaboration. There was a choice of word forms he selected, thus the considerable less incorporated of contaminated by Danish. Rural dialects resources also solve the problem of functional elaboration or extending the use of Norwegian into domains that are Danish had previously been the only appropriate code. The words were needed for many except which had previously been discussed only in Danish. Dialect forms were Edison's main resource for cheating new words. The last kind is acceptance. A standard dialects of a language suitable for official uses and acceptable as a national symbol has emerged naturally with little or no help from government, agencies, or linguistic experts. In Norway, as in many more recently developing nations, things have not been so simple. The government has considered it necessary to make deliberate choices to accelerate this process of language standardization and legislate on the status of particular varieties. It is clear that language planning is a fascinating mixture of political and social consideration as well as linguistic ones. The linguistics role in language planning. In this section, more often these days, the nuts and bolts of language planning are handled by committees, commissions, or academies. The Kanak Language Academy, for example, has been established to preserve the indigenous languages of the New Caledonia. Codification and vocabulary expansion are typically of prime concern for language academies. And in the next session, I briefly illustrate this process, drawing mainly on Maori for exemplification. In this linguistics role in language planning, there are some kind of this. The first is codification of orthography. The second is developing vocabulary. In this section, it's important to us because when we plan about language, we have to developing vocabulary to make our words have a meaning. The third is acquisition planning. Of course, this um, also important because with acquisition we can use some languages for use in daily activities. And last is acceptance. We have to accept some language to use in the daily activity also. That's all. Thank you for attention and sorry for any mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.